Hey Hong Kong, my name is Charles, and I lead a small research team in New York City that researches buyers. Over the last few years, we've interviewed hundreds of buyers trying to understand what they are looking for when they're finding a supplier. And today I'm going to tell you some of the top techniques and tactics they use to pick a supplier. So on this first slide here, we have 3 buyers that we've interviewed over the last few years. On the left is Christine. She helps new brands launch accessory products like belts, wallets, and shoes. In the center we have Keith. He runs a fishing lure business. And on the right is Ross, a former investment banker who's turned into an Amazon seller and went from just starting out 2 years ago to now doing millions of dollars in revenue and having over 5 employees. Now, you all are probably familiar with this next slide, the sourcing process, but from the other side. So this is the process that US buyers must do to actually find a supplier and get a product delivered to them. It's not easy. You can break it down a lot of different ways, but there's at least 18 steps to be able to find a supplier. And each of these steps, something can go wrong. And so I want to talk about what the buyers are looking for when picking a supplier. On this next slide, you'll see the US buyers' priorities. You see price, effort, and product quality as distinct points on this triangle. Now, if you focus too much on price, then you're gonna have to do a lot more effort and get lower product quality. And if a buyer optimizes for effort, like if they were to source from China and get the absolute lowest price, it's gonna be a lot of work for them. They might save money, but a lot of stuff can go wrong. So on the right, you'll see a picture that we took of a buyer. This is him going through a bunch of different suppliers that he found on Alibaba and writing down notes on each of them, what he liked about them, their pricing. This is the work that they have to do when they're picking between all the different suppliers they could potentially work with. So today we're going to talk about what those things that they particularly look at. Now, we do a lot of surveys. I'm surveying thousands of buyers each year. And what we see here are the things that the buyers want to know about suppliers to help them make the right decision. Now, buyers, as we mentioned earlier, trying to get the best price, get it delivered on time, not spend too much effort, and get the right product quality. And so when they're looking at a supplier, whether it be on Alibaba or at a trade show, they're trying to figure out, number one, the most important thing that they want to find out in this early stage is production accuracy. And that means, will the supplier produce the product the way that I want it produced? Will it match my specifications? Will it match my diagrams? Will it match my spec? Will it match my sample? And that's a huge deal to them. And so anything that you all can do to help them show that you're really going to deliver products accurately will give you an advantage over other suppliers. That could be things like sharing references of other happy buyers, or even perhaps showing people's reviews of your products. So if you manufacture for an international brand or a popular Amazon seller, if you can show other buyers anything that's not proprietary, anything that's open, that'll prove that you guys do a good job in production accuracy, buyers would really like to see that. Next, they care about responsiveness. They want to know, hey, will the supplier not just reply to my first message, but will they reply throughout the whole process? So for example, in the middle of production, after they've given you the down payment, are you still going to reply and solve their problems? They're really looking for partners, not just someone to make the product for them. And then they care about communication ability. Now, this isn't just being able to speak good English. This also means that, are you able to understand their specification? And are you able to communicate with them and tell them, hey, buyer, you might not want to make these design decisions. You might want to change these few things. And being able to communicate that clearly, quickly, on time is very important to them. Again, they care about on-time shipment. They want to know, will you deliver when you say you'll deliver? They want to know if you'll be able to hit the target price. Will you be able to manufacture the right level of customization at the right quantity for them? And then, will you respect their intellectual property? Will you keep private things private? And they also want to know, what can you actually do with your capabilities? Now, on this next slide, we'll actually show you the process that they follow as they go through the whole process. So they always start out with a search on Alibaba, and then they look quickly at some key factors. They look at price listed, they look at minimum order quantity, they look at your years on Alibaba, they look at your response rate. But they first start with the photos to see, does this product look like what I'm trying to make? Let's say they're doing a custom iPhone case with a few different modifications. They're looking around to see which supplier has the closest experience to making that sort of product. But having high quality product photos is very important. And then having a clear description that describes what the product is actually doing. After they do that search, they'll click into some product pages and send messages, sometimes just to one supplier, sometimes to over 20 suppliers. They'll wait to hear back from the suppliers, and then after they get that initial quote, they will send the specifications and get a more final quote as they go through the sampling process. Now, US buyers really are looking for suppliers that they can trust. And one of the main reasons why they're doing this is that they want to find someone who can really be their partner as they go through this process. So some things that you can do to stand out is demonstrate your knowledge. When they ask you questions, feel free to tell them things that they didn't know that they should ask for. Answer all their questions. One thing we hear buyers say a lot is that the supplier didn't respond to my questions, or they didn't respond to all my questions. So sometimes it helps to break it out with bullet points, saying here's question A, B, C, D, with answers to all of them. Being willing to hop on a Skype call or some sort of video conference is often helpful. And then also providing referrals, saying, hey, you can trust me because I worked with these other buyers in your country and they were really satisfied. And then if you're able to provide accurate samples, that's also wonderful, because that means that they can see that you have the technical capability to do things. And then one other huge thing, maybe my number one tip for suppliers, would be to educate your buyers. Some of these buyers are sourcing, we have some buyers who source hundreds of products in a given year in different categories. That means they can't be an expert on every single one. So what they do is they rely on suppliers like you to help tell them, hey, just so you know, you should not do things this way, or you should do these things with it to avoid problems. And sometimes suppliers don't do that. Sometimes suppliers say, well, the customer asked for this, so I'm going to give them exactly that. But if you can have a discussion with them, understand what their needs are, and see if they're willing to make any trade-offs to make the product better, they really appreciate that. And that means that they're really going to trust you more and more. So Luis mentioned that he's looking for a partner, not just a supplier. I want them to do what's best for both them and for me, because these buyers want to have long-term relationships with suppliers. One of the secrets is they don't really like finding new suppliers. Once they find a supplier, they're very happy if they get the right price. Sometimes they're not as likely to change. So if you can win their business, you have the opportunity to keep it. So we talked a little bit about some of the techniques that you can do. One thing that is really helpful is when it comes to logistics, it helps to teach the buyer a little bit about what to expect. So if it's their first time importing, explaining which Incoterms they should use, which are most common, and also what each of them mean. In addition, it really helps to update the buyers with changes in technology in your category. So let's say that you're an electronics manufacturer and they're changing some standards next year in 2021. Well, if you say, hey guys, just so you guys know, you can produce this product this way until December, but you have to switch next year, and give them that information ahead of time, they'll be so grateful for you, because that's one thing that they didn't have to remember to do. And that means they can trust you more, give you more responsibility, and give you more business. Now, I really like this quote from Tony, who works for Guitar Center, a very, very large US business doing hundreds of millions of dollars a year in sourcing. Says, we want to get an idea if you are going to be a supplier that makes my life easier, or am I going to have to work hard to get what I'm trying to get from you? So as much as you can help them make their jobs easy, they'll be even more happy with you all. Now, in this slide, I'm going to tell you how not to get more customers. So one thing that many of our largest buyers have complained about is when suppliers know something, but they don't tell them about it. So for Tony, who works at Guitar Center, one supplier didn't tell him that a product that he was going to purchase from them had a carcinogenic ingredient that needed to be labeled according to California's Proposition 65. Now, this resulted in a lawsuit for his company and made him look bad to his bosses, something that no buyer ever wants to do. And so had the supplier told him ahead of time, he could have avoided all of this and the embarrassment. He said to us, I'm not the expert in the product. I felt like that was a failure on the part of the supplier. They got the business, but they didn't maintain it. It was a little bit lazy by them. Now, I want to just say thanks to all of you for listening to my presentation. Take care. Bye.